This is my home, the remote wilderness of northwestern Canada, in the province of Alberta. And I've lived here all of my adult life. And it's full of wildlife. Creatures like wolves, elk, and lynx can thrive here. My name is Andrew Mansky, and I'm a wildlife cinematographer. I've made a career out of discovering and documenting their secret lives. But there is one creature that has eluded my camera and haunted my wilderness obsession: the Wolverine.
They're an icon of the wilderness, notorious for being very aggressive and very vicious. They're elusive. Very, very few people have ever seen one or ever will see one.
I was determined to make a film about these legendary animals in the wild. What started out like any other wildlife film turned into a 5-year quest. One that took me deeper into the world of the Wolverine than anyone has ever gone before. I've been a wildlife filmmaker for over 20 years. I've made a career filming in remote wilderness settings. I love being out in the rugged, raw beauty of the Canadian North. I thought I'd seen it all, but one day, my life changed when I saw something I'd never seen before. It was back in 2010. I'd set up some motion-activated trail cameras in an area in northwestern Alberta to capture images of wolves, moose, and other animals. Any animal that walks by this camera, we'll get their picture taken. When I checked the footage afterwards, I couldn't believe my eyes. Wolverines. In 20 years working in the woods, I'd never seen one. They were beautiful and fascinating, and watching their antics on the camera, I was hooked. But I needed more. I wanted to see this mythical creature in the flesh. These are smoking hot Wolverine trails. We are on the path of Wolverines. I can see mink tracks, ermine, and Wolverine. You can't find any fresher tracks than this. These recent Wolverine tracks in the snow led me to this beaver pond. And at the end of the trail, I discovered an active beaver lodge. Wolverines have been known to dig their way into the lodges to get at the beavers inside. Fresh tracks, look at that. This could be the perfect spot to set up and wait for Wolverines to come back. So I installed a few trail cameras, but I really wanted to see them for myself. And to do that, I needed a place to hide. Okay, I've just set up my blind. The idea is to let this blind sit for a couple days before I man it so that the animals in the area become familiar, especially the Wolverines. They might think like, what the heck is that? I've disrupted the scene right now, so I need to get out of here, come back in a couple days, and quietly come in the blind and wait for Wolverines. So let's hope for the best. It's kind of nice to be out here alone, in nature, where it's quiet and peaceful. Problem was, although lots of other animals seemed to be unfazed by my blind, the Wolverines were different. They were incredibly wary. But I stayed put, kept waiting, and eventually, after dusk, a Wolverine appeared. It was too dark for good footage, but I recorded anyway. It was the first Wolverine I'd ever seen live, and my heart was pounding. As far as I knew, this was the first footage of wild Wolverines ever captured in North America. It wasn't very good, but at least it was a start. I thought it would get easier from here, but as the days went by, I never got another shot of a Wolverine from the blind. My trail cameras told another story. They captured footage of these amazing animals each night.
Wow. Look at him.
While I was sitting in the blind, feeling frustrated, Wolverines were coming out to the lodge after dark. I'd been outsmarted. But there was something else about that trail camera footage, too.
I think I've got 2 Wolverines.
One of the Wolverines on the trail cameras really caught my attention. He was a big brute of a Wolverine, and he was aggressive, too. Always driving other Wolverines away from the beaver lodge. Because of his size and attitude, I named this big guy Brutus, and it seemed fitting. Wolverines are known to be good tree climbers, but Brutus, however, was more of a tree faller.
Wow.
I would need a better understanding of these animals if I was ever going to film them. Lucky for me, other people in Alberta were beginning to ask questions about these elusive creatures. When I first got hooked on Wolverines, the scientific literature on them was very thin. In Alberta, their status was officially listed as unknown. A team of researchers is hoping to fill in the blanks with the most ambitious study of Wolverines ever conducted in Canada. Dr. Mark Boyce from the University of Alberta heads the study. He and lead researcher Matt Scrafford are hoping to discover how well the Wolverine is doing here. But it won't be easy.
Wolverines live in the most remote place that you can find on the planet. In the heart of the Rocky Mountains, in some of the most rugged terrain imaginable, Wolverines seem to be able to move through that country and make a living at it. Well, they're difficult to study for a variety of reasons. It's difficult to find them and catch them. A very rare animal. I've only seen 2 in my life. And as a consequence, we don't have a lot of data on Wolverines.
In Alberta, Wolverines may be at risk, and in the United States, Wolverines are being petitioned for listing on the endangered species list. We don't know much about Wolverines, and that makes my job a little bit harder.
The researchers start by establishing bait stations across the province in key Wolverine habitat. It's one good way to count Wolverines.
They do respond to bait, especially like beaver bait.
Wolverines are scavengers. By enticing them onto these structures, the researchers begin to build a picture of the Wolverines here.
They'll climb over this apparatus so that we'll get an opportunity to take a photograph of their underside so that we can determine the sex. We can identify individuals by the white crescents that occur on their throat and chest.
The researchers also collect hair samples that the animals leave behind. Genetic testing of hair gathered at the bait stations has revealed a previously unknown aspect of the Wolverine's social life. One of the animals identified by the team is a mature adult female who returns to the bait stations almost daily. Watching the trail camera footage, I noticed as soon as she leaves, a younger female shows up. There is also a young male who looks just like the adult female. These 3 seem to be following each other. They show up at the bait stations one after another, and sometimes only separated by minutes. The younger Wolverines seem to be following in her footsteps and doing the same thing that she's doing. This is a mother with 2 subadult offspring. Family interactions like this by Wolverines has rarely been seen before. Now, armed with some understanding of this Wolverine behavior, I think I've found a promising new location to set up and try to film Wolverines. This is a rich wildlife habitat. There's healthy moose, elk, and deer populations here, and lots of wolves. They've recently killed a yearling moose. And not far away, ravens have discovered a deer drowned, and it's frozen in the ice. This is just the kind of buffet that a scavenging Wolverine likes. I'm going to set up 3 camera blinds along the river that give me good sight lines to watch for wolves and Wolverines. I'll also set up several trail cams at the carcasses to monitor the animals' movements. There's tracks all over the place, so just getting the blind prepared here so that I can have my lens come out this way. And I've got a little peephole to keep watch. One thing about Wolverines is they can see every little movement. They're super wary, and they know you're in the blind. They just have to accept you. Figure that you're not a threat, and that they'll carry on being a Wolverine with me in here filming them. Blind's all ready to go. Now all we have to do is wait for those Wolverines to show up. Working from a blind is not a new experience for me. It's been the mainstay of my career as a wildlife cinematographer. But this is going to be my greatest challenge yet. I suspect I could be out here for a very long time. There's lots of action around the carcass, but no Wolverines yet. I have to believe it's only a matter of time before I see the phantom of the wilderness out in the open. Day 5. I've seen mainly wolves so far, and a few other animals have passed through the valley. I thought I caught a glimpse of a Wolverine yesterday when a brown, shadowy figure ambled through the trees. But it was too obscured by the bush to say for sure. The wolves don't seem to care that I'm here. But I can't help wondering if they are keeping the Wolverines away. They are the main predators of Wolverines. Luckily, there are other visitors to the carcass to keep me entertained during the day. The raven sure lives up to its First Nations reputation as the trickster. These awesome birds are always trying to steal the show. At least they break up my daily routine out here, watching for Wolverines and try to keep my batteries from dying in the cold. The long days in the blind are a challenge for me both mentally and physically. Because the Wolverines are so sensitive to movement and scent, I'll spend 3 consecutive days without setting foot outside the blind. I have to do everything inside.
I have to pee in these bottles, and I pour them into a bigger bottle, and then I carry them back to camp so that I don't have to leave the blind and make noise or leave scent around.
And sometimes I realize I'm not always alone in the blind.
There was a shrew running around in here today, trying to get at my lunch. But I'd rather have a shrew digging around in here than a Wolverine or a grizzly bear. I can handle a shrew.
After a week in the blind, I head out to check my trail cameras. I still haven't seen a Wolverine at the carcass. Hopefully I'll see some fresh Wolverine sign. There was a lot of tracks on the trail last night. Wolverine tracks right there. I could smell like fox piss or something. The footage shows that the Wolverines are coming out at night, probably to avoid me. I'm just gonna have to wait them out.
Well, another day without the Wolverine. This is my 8th night here in the blind. And I've seen the Wolverine once for about 2 minutes, and it ran by my blind before I could get a shot of it. So, anyway, good night. Time to hunker down with the shrews.
Time is ticking away, and I haven't managed to get any footage of Wolverines yet. I'm not sure how much longer I can last in these difficult conditions. I've been waiting in my camera blind for nearly 3 weeks now, and the Wolverines continue to elude me. And then, one beautiful morning, my patience finally pays off. At first, I don't quite trust my eyes. But then, there it is, a Wolverine. I'm so excited that my hands are shaking. It's surreal, after weeks of being in the blind, to finally see one out in the open like this. I recognize this Wolverine right away. It's the mature female from the bait stations. I'm going to name her Bandit, for the light-colored mask around her eyes. Bandit looks right at me in the blind. Nervous, she doesn't stick around long, and like a ghost, she drifts away and fades off into the cover of the forest. But as soon as Bandit leaves, another Wolverine arrives. It's the young female who followed her to the bait stations. She's got to be Bandit's daughter, and I name her White Tips for the light patches on her chest and on her paw. White Tips opens up the carcass with ease. Using jaws with a pound-for-pound bite force stronger than any other carnivore on land, she tears off chunks of the carcass and swallows them whole, gorging on whatever she can. The scientific name for the Wolverine is gulo, which is Latin for glutton. White Tips might be a glutton, but she's beautiful. You can see by the look in her face and in her eyes that she's a young Wolverine. To me, she's really cute looking, but so intense, always pausing to stop and listen. She's only 45 meters away from me, and her stare tells me that she knows I'm in the blind. But I believe that she's accepted that I'm here. Otherwise, she would have fled the scene. Perhaps White Tips has accepted me in the blind, but she still has to be wary of the original owners of this carcass coming back. Wolves are a constant threat to Wolverines. But as a scavenger, the Wolverine depends on wolves for food. She is vulnerable out in the open, so taking as much as she can carry, White Tips retreats to the safety of the trees.
It took me 21 days in this blind to get this sequence. I'm really excited because that's a long time to sit in this little box.
Even though I finally managed to capture footage of Wolverines in the wild, this is still a glimpse into the lives of these enigmatic creatures. Fortunately for me, the Wolverine research project in Alberta is about to kick off into a major new phase. Researchers with the Wolverine project plan to live capture Wolverines in traps and fit them with satellite collars to track their movements and understand how these animals are using the landscape. These spruce logs are huge, and they need to be. Wolverines have such powerful jaws that they can chew their way out of these traps in a matter of hours.
So this is a cantilever system. The cantilever is connected to this aircraft cable and goes into the teeth of the vice grip. And when the Wolverine comes into the trap, he'll pull on the beaver, and we catch the Wolverine. When the trap is sprung and the lid falls, the plunger is pulled out, and we get an email saying that this trap is triggered and what specific trap we have to go check.
Now it's time to leave and let the bait do its work. It doesn't take long for the first Wolverine to show up. As we saw at the bait stations, Wolverines can't pass up on a free beaver meal. But they seem to be quite cautious and curious animals. Even though the Wolverine must be hungry, he's taking his time to check every inch of the strange new contraption that has shown up in the middle of his forest home. This Wolverine seems remarkably calm and curious about the log trap. Eventually, he decides it's mealtime. Once Matt Scrafford gets the signal that a trap has been triggered, there's no time to lose. But it's not just the risk of a captured animal escaping. Wolverines have a very high metabolism. Their body and breath generate enough heat to melt the snow around the trap, which can leave them wet and vulnerable to hypothermia. Matt doesn't know what he's caught in the trap. Could be a lynx or a wolf. Sometimes, even the little cousin of the Wolverine, the pine marten, can trigger the trap.
We got ourselves a Wolverine.
It's a beautiful looking male. Big, healthy looking animal. Hey, buddy.
It's got a bigger head, so we could be looking at a male.
Seeing Wolverines in the wild is cool, but I'm up close enough here to smell their breath. Let's just say it isn't sweet. The researchers use a stick to distract the Wolverine and turn it sideways, so they can jab a tranquilizer into its flank where the muscle is thickest. There was a lot that Matt and his team can learn about Wolverines when they have them in hand like this. So few have ever been caught that each bit of information they collect adds volumes to our understanding of these animals.
He's a young male, for sure.
It's a stressful situation for these animals, but Matt tries to minimize his impact. They keep their voices low and the Wolverine's eyes covered. While the physical data about each Wolverine they catch is important, the goal of the study is to understand how these animals are using the landscape they live in.
From the radio collar, they'll give us GPS locations every 2 hours or so relative to habitat, rivers, prey.
As soon as he's finished, Matt returns the sedated animal to the trap to wake up, along with hot water bottles and towels to keep it warm and dry, while the reversal drugs take effect. The researchers stand by quietly, waiting to be sure that each Wolverine recovers completely and returns to the forest unharmed. When Matt began his study, he wasn't sure how many Wolverines they were going to find, but it's been going much better than anyone predicted. Tell me when? How does he look?
Looks like he wants to get out. We originally did not think that there would be many Wolverines in this region, and other scientists said that. Well, for one thing, I mean, we've been catching a lot of Wolverines.
The researchers now have 33 Wolverines with satellite collars. With this many research animals, what they'll learn about Wolverines will be unprecedented in the history of Wolverine research. While Matt Scrafford and his team are beginning to follow their collared Wolverines, I head back to my blind to see how Bandit and her offspring are doing. There's not much left of the wolf kill. Overnight, some of the carcass was dragged away. It's now frozen to the ice under the snow. A male Wolverine I don't recognize scampers into the open. The Wolverines in the area seem to be accepting me now. The politics of scavenging is fascinating. The ravens do their best to pester this Wolverine. But with the wolves gone, he's now in charge. Wolverines come and go and take their turn feeding. Another Wolverine arrives, and I recognize him right away. It's Bandit's son. The mask around his eyes is so similar to his mother's, and the markings on his chest match the trail cam shots from the bait stations. His scruffy, oversized coat suggests a perfect name for him, Shaggy. Shaggy has a playful personality, but just like his sister White Tips, he's always looking over his shoulder for signs of danger. Shaggy finds a leg bone, then runs away to cache it. He returns a couple more times and always carries something off with him. I guess Wolverines are like doomsday preppers, hiding away their food for when times are tough. I'm going to leave a couple trail cameras set up around the area where I saw Shaggy caching food under a driftwood pile. Then return in the spring to see what I get on the cameras. It's time for me to go back and check in with the researchers. Still, I can't pass up the chance to do some shooting in the aftermath of a heavy snowstorm. Someone else likes this weather too. It's Bandit, coming out into the open again. Bandit's frost-resistant coat keeps her warm. And her wide paws work like natural snowshoes as she makes her way across the deep snow. She's right at home in these extreme conditions. With an incredible sense of smell, she finds chunks of the carcass under a meter of snow. Bandit comes and goes from the carcass, sometimes disappearing for days. Perhaps she's got a den nearby. This time of year, Wolverines den and give birth to their kits. Filming a wild Wolverine mother and her kits at the den would be the ultimate sequence for me. No one has ever done that before. But it is virtually impossible to follow Bandit on foot in these conditions. I'm going to check in with biologist Matt Scrafford to see if he can help me find an active Wolverine den. Turns out that Matt is starting to collect some very interesting information from the collared Wolverines, GPS location clusters where the Wolverines have been frequenting.
It used to be that you'd put a radio collar on a Wolverine and you'd get a pretty rough estimate of where the actual animal is located. Now we're using these GPS collars that give us locations every 1 or 2 hours. We know within a few meters exactly where these Wolverines are, what foods they were eating, or what other individuals were in that area. That allows us to get a very detailed understanding of their ecology.
Wolverines have always been viewed primarily as scavengers, getting most of their food from kills made by other predators. But Matt has found that they are actually far more predatory than anyone previously thought.
The Wolverine's niche is basically to survive in areas that few other species are capable of surviving. They're very good at killing beavers. They're very good at killing grouse and snowshoe hare.
What do you got here?
Looks like the Wolverine dug this lodge out through the breathe hole of this lodge to access the beavers inside.
God, they dug in through like a meter of frozen mud and sticks. So do you think you actually killed a beaver in there?
I think it did.
I never knew that wolverines hunted so much. But I was also surprised by another discovery from the study. Northwestern Alberta has a large industrial footprint. Conventional wisdom would suggest that wolverines stick to wilderness areas, places where people don't go. But what Matt and his colleagues are actually finding is wolverines living successfully in areas of significant industrial development.
There is quite a bit of industrial development, but there's not a lot of people. We're finding that there's quite a few wolverines up here and that they're doing well and they're thriving in tandem with this development. Wolverines might be able to utilize some of the industrial development to their advantage. Cut lines and roads that people use very infrequently, wolverines can use as travel routes. They can move efficiently and over long distances.
It remains to be seen if wolverines can really coexist with industrial activity, but they do appear to be quite adaptive. Maybe this is just another extreme environment that they can master. Although the research team is gathering valuable data, studying wolverines in the wild doesn't come without its challenges. Wolverines are not always the best house guests in these traps.
It's not used to being captured.
They can chew their way through these massive logs and escape. It's not just escapees that can cause problems for Matt. Sometimes he captures animals that he wasn't expecting, like fisher or like this lynx that's been caught more than once.
So we've caught this lynx before about 2 weeks ago. Seems pretty content in the trap.
Yeah, she seems pretty calm.
Just a few of the mature lynx are radio colored so that Matt can monitor their movements throughout the study area. But usually, the researchers just open up the trap door and let the lynx go. Finding the wrong species inside a box trap is frustrating. So is discovering a wolverine that's already been collared, but doesn't mind getting caught again if it means enjoying a belly full of beaver meat while it waits to be released. This speaks to the adaptability and intelligence of wolverines. As does Matt's discovery that some animals he's been trying to collar have figured out that carefully nibbling at the bait instead of yanking on it lets them eat without getting caught at all. But sometimes animals come back to a trap out of desperation, not cleverness. This is the case of an old friend of mine. Here he is, 5 years later. The big, aggressive wolverine I first saw on my trail cameras, Brutus, back in 2010. My trail cameras captured footage of Brutus and another rival male crossing paths one night, and a violent fight transpired. After being beat up and pushed off his home range by a more powerful male, hungry Brutus has been reduced to scavenging at the research traps. Brutus doesn't seem to care if he gets caught in the trap, as long as it brings a free meal.
So we got a wolverine here. It looks like it's missing a large portion of the top of its head. Looks like both eyes are still working, but he's got most of the top of his head missing, and he's got scarring throughout his nose and lips and chin. Yeah, it's Brutus.
After catching and releasing Brutus a couple of times, the researchers decide to give him an injection of antibiotics. Released to his fate, Brutus's survival now depends on his ability to heal from his injuries and reestablish his home range again. Matt and his team face other challenges too. Some Wolverines have found ways of slipping out of their collars, as a Wolverine's neck is almost the same size as its head, making it difficult to keep the collars on. One of the younger male Wolverines, M13, has slipped his collar a couple times already. Matt suspects M13 has dropped his collar again. Matt heads into the location to see if he can find it, but he makes a disturbing discovery.
We got wolf tracks going down the middle of the trail, and then you can see more Wolverine tracks further back.
This is not a good sign.
This looks more like a Wolverine.
Matt is starting to suspect something else is going on here.
You can see the Wolverine fur all the way over here. Holy shit. It's M13. Wolf tracks are everywhere. He was just collared about 2 weeks ago. Looks like he was pretty scared. Even though it's more than capable of backing down a small number of wolves, if the pack of wolves is large enough, a Wolverine doesn't really stand a chance. It does pull at your heartstrings to see one of your study animals die. It's sad, but of course it's nature, and from his death we learn a lot about Wolverines.
So little is known about Wolverines that every day there is the potential to uncover something that hasn't been seen before. Matt has captured an impressive character in one of his log traps.
Pretty big. I'd say the heaviest one we've had.
This is M6. He's a 35, 36-pound male.
When the researchers review the trail cam footage recorded at the trap, they see something new. The footage reveals that moments after M6 is captured, he has company outside the trap. A timid, young male known as M8 shows up. And it turns out that M8 is M6's son. And it's clear that he's trying to communicate with his father inside the trap. Male Wolverines have long been thought of as solitary creatures. But this scene at the log trap suggests something else. Could it be that male Wolverines have far more of a social life than previously thought? And might males actually play a role in raising their young? M8 seems to throw a temper tantrum when he can't reach his father. He sucks his paw like a thumb and eventually falls asleep just outside the trap. Watching the interactions between M6 and M8 at the trap has left me curious to know more about Wolverine family life. What I really want to do is get footage of a female Wolverine at a den with her kits. That is something that has never been seen or filmed before. Biologist Matt Scrafford is on the trail of a female Wolverine known as F4. The signal from her GPS collar and the fresh tracks have led Matt to this beaver lodge.
It's a pretty slow beat. It's coming right from this beaver lodge, which is right out in front of us. We've been tracking F4 for about 3 months now. We noticed a real connection between her and beavers. She's often at lodges, digging into them and predating on beavers. The fact that she's denning in a beaver lodge, I guess, makes sense with her. It's just kind of, that's what she does. There's such a small sample size in North America as far as how many dens researchers have ever found. So it's kind of exciting to be seeing this and potentially breaking some new ground. It's also pretty exciting to think that her and her kits right there.
Discovering an active Wolverine den is extremely rare, and finding one with kits is almost unheard of. This is a major success for Matt and his research team. Maybe I can even get footage of F4 and her young. That would be the ultimate sequence for me. Wolverines at a den are extremely sensitive, and I don't want to spook F4. So I set up trail cameras and leave the area. Matt and I aren't the only ones interested in what's going on at F4's den. At midday, F4 finally comes out. She appears nervous. Perhaps it's because there's other predators around. My trail cameras reveal a surprising visitor to her den. It's another one of Matt's research animals, an adult male Wolverine known as M14. Over the next few days, M14 keeps coming back. He carefully scent marks the entrance to the den. It must be to ward off other males and potential predators. F4 makes no attempt to drive him off. The researchers believe that M14 is her mate and the father of her kits. M14's behavior is another clue that male Wolverines may play an important role in raising their offspring. Days have gone by without any sign of the kits. A very loud baby's cry, my first hint that something big is about to happen. Suddenly, she's there, F4 outside the den, carrying one of her tiny kits. Unseasonable temperatures caused an early snowmelt over F4's den, leaving the Wolverines wet inside and exposed to hypothermia overnight. F4 decided to move her kits to another den in search of drier quarters. This is a world first, footage of wild Wolverine kits. It has taken me 5 years to get to this moment, and it's the highlight of my career as a wildlife filmmaker. It has been hard work, but I feel a sense of achievement. I've captured more footage of wild Wolverines in North America than anyone before. I did set up remote trail cameras near the family's new den site, and a few others to run unchecked through the spring. F4's partner, M14, continued his routines of visiting his various den sites. And also scent marking the researchers' log traps that are shut down for the season. M14 would make his rounds, and like clockwork, he would return and do the same thing about every 3 days. Now that it's spring, M14 has to be careful around Matt's traps. Not to get caught in them, but he could get caught and killed by another new predator. Bears are up from their long winter sleep. Hungry black bears would love to make a meal of an unsuspecting Wolverine. Remember Shaggy, brother of White Tip's son of Bandit? The last time I saw him, he was the third wheel in his family, feeding on a carcass after his mom and sister were done, and caching meat for later. It looks like many new faces have been visiting the area around Shaggy's cache site. And some were reappearing more than others, like this gray wolf that has been seen countless times on the camera. The new season brings on new adventures out at my blind location. The ice is gone from the rivers and lakes, and I can't resist to film one last time. I set up near the location I saw wolverines caching food. There are other animals around. This place looks so different now. It's hard to imagine I'll see wolverines through all the leaves. Over the next few days in the blind, I filmed mainly black bears and wolves moving through the river valley. I recognize this female wolf from the trail camera footage. It's the same gray wolf that was frequenting the food cache. She returns day after day and pillages from the food that Shaggy had buried here last winter. A wolverine finally appears, but I don't know which one it is. They look so different in their summer coat. With the wolf at the food cache, the wolverine doesn't stick around long. The threat of these wolves will always be present here. Weeks go by without ever seeing another wolverine. With all the predators in the area, I assume that the wolverines are staying clear. I was just starting to lose hope when suddenly Shaggy appears. There he is, with that scruffy coat and that light-covered mask around his eyes. He stops and looks right at me in the blind. Shaggy returns to his cache, only to discover that wolves and bears have found his food source. I'm guessing this phantom of the wilderness will find his way. These past few years have been a real adventure for me. The challenge of trying to find and film one of the planet's least understood animals has only left me wanting more. We've just begun to understand the wolverine. We may never know the answers, and that's okay with me. It's nice to think there are still mysteries out there.